I just, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. And we're going to study a little bit of Parshat Nasso. I'm going to put up the text in a second. If I apologize if there's any background noise. It's just, thank God, they're right outside my window putting up a tent, which is so exciting that we have stuff happening. Like, yay! Because we're going to start services on Thursday. So that's really, really exciting. But I just wanted to know, yesterday I spoke to Eva Nelson. Eva's been in a hospital for like 3 weeks now, and she has really, really bad pneumonia. And I told her that I would send her regards, but I also told her that we would just say a short Tehillim and a Mishaber for her in our group because she misses our group so much, and we miss her. So Shiur Lamal Sasonai Laher Mi Anya Vo Ezri Mimal Osei Shemayim Oretz. Al Yitain Lamot Laglecha Al Yinam Shemrecha Hine Lo Yanam Velo Yishem Shemay Yisrael Adonai Shemrecha Netzach Al Yad Yaminecha Yomam Hashem Lo Yekeka V'Yarech Balela Ani Shemrecha Mikol Rab Yishmar Es Nafshecha Adonai Yishmar Tzeisecha V'Lecha Me'at Tov Yad Olam Mishaberech Avoseina Abraham Yitzchak Yaakov Moshe Aaron David Shlomo Huiberech Rapi Esachola Chava Bas Chaya Bela Ba'avur Shekol Kol Mispam Avur B'Schar Zeh HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yimorach Malel Lahachli Mal Rapaz Lahachzik Lachos Avishlach Lo Meheira Refuah Shlema Ramach Evaresh Esogide B'Sok Sha'ar Chol Yisrael Force Nefesh Force Aguf Hashla V'Galovas Mount Griv and Amar Amen. Amen. So we hope that that Eva should have a complete recovery. And again, it took a while, but I was able to get a hold of her finally. But she's in the hospital and she's she's not 100%. But we hope that she'll improve and get home soon. So, but she did want me to express her to say hello to everyone and tell everyone how much she misses being in the class. So, and we miss her too. So what I want to do now is I'm going to study two different aspects of Parshat Nasso. Nasso has the, you could say the, notoriety of being the longest single parsha in the Torah. It comes in at 172 verses. Interestingly enough, the longest tractate in Talmud is Bava Basra, has 172 blas, and I can see you sneeze. I can't hear you, but I can see you sneeze. But at least you're on. At least I can see you. And the longest chapter of Tehillim, 119, has 172 verses. So you want to figure out something special about 72? Okay. But Nasso, so somebody asked me, well, we're opening the shul, but we're not opening on Shabbos yet. They said, why not? I said, because it's Nasso. It's the longest parsha. Why would I open on the longest parsha? Why not wait till Nitzavim? Anyway, so I'm gonna just share the screen now. And here we go. Okay. Okay, everybody sees that?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Let me just try and drag down my window so I could see some more people. Okay.
So how do I do it?
Now, we're going to cover two different. So just by way of beginning, just trying to put this. There we go. It's just a matter of how you when you share the screen. By the way, it does things to your own screen. So when you try to see windows and whatever at the same time. But so here we have just a little source sheet that I made up, and that is the Nasso es Rosh B'nei Gershom Gam Hein Lebeis Avosan. So if I would say to you, how do we? Again, I use the Sefaria translation, but the parsha takes its name from the first verse because it says, Nasso, take a census of the Gershonites, also by their ancestral house. Nasso. But the word Nasso comes from the word similar to the word kitisa, which means to raise up. When we say Vayisa et Eina Vayar, it says that Abraham, when he came to the place of the Akedah, it says that he lifted up his eyes. Or we say Esa Einai El Heharim Yain Yavo Ezri. That's the Psalm 121, which I just recited for Eva. Again, I lift my eyes to the hills, from where will my help come? So Nasso means to raise up, take a census of the Gershonites according to their house. Now, we have similar occurrences of the word. So if you scroll down a little bit, you see the word kitisa. So kitisa, also there's a parsha in Shemos called kitisa. Kitisa at Rosh B'nei Yisrael of Kudei Heaven Nasnu Ish Kofer Navshol Hashem B'Fkodosam Lo Yebehem Negev B'Fkodosam Excuse me, I just have to answer a call from the shul president and tell him that I can't talk right now. Oh, by the way, I have really good news. Next week, for those who are willing, those who want, we could have class outdoors in the tent. We could sit outside, spaced properly, in the tent.
I'm in.
That's
That would
really
be so
exciting.
nice. That'd be so nice.
Yeah, because it's nice
Will people
outdoors.
wear
We could drink
masks?
tea. We could have Starbucks. I mean, whatever you
Yeah.
want. But
Oh,
it'll be
let's do
nice. Zelly, it's going to be a little bit of a schlep for you, but you know,
A little bit.
we'll get you in there. Don't worry. Anyway,
Please get her
Everyone's
here.
going to wear a
Right.
mask.
so the word kitisa is as Rosh B'nai Yisrael Kudehem. So we have a parsha called kitisa. When you take a census, also there, take a census. Rashi says kitisa has the meaning of obtaining, lashon kabbalah. So there's raising, but also when you accept something. Tetargumo, and Rashi uses the targum kishetachpotz lekabel sikum minyanam ladas kamahim. When you want to receive and get a total number of how many they are, al timonim legulgoles elayidu kol echad machtis hashekel v'timnet hashekalim v'teda minyanam. Rather, if you want to know their number, then we don't count heads. This is where we have you might call it, it's not really a nine hara, but it is a nine hara, but we have this custom, we don't count people. So whenever they count for a minyan, let's say, they say not one, not two, not three, or they'll use a pasuk that has 10 words in it. Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech motzi lechem min haaretz, if you want, if you're hungry. But Hoshia es amecha uvarech es nachal asecha urei minasem ad olam. And then, of course, we have the really bad joke of why in the Polish minyan they needed 15 people to make a minyan, because they would always sing Hoshia es amecha uvarech es nachal asecha ureim 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 v'nasem. So that's how they needed 15 for a minyan. Okay, these are really bad rabbi jokes. What are you going to do? So the word kitisa is a similar, and then we have yet another version of this, which we had at the very beginning of Bamidbar, She'u et Rosh Kol Adas B'nai Yisrael. Again, they all are translated to mean a census. But if they all mean a census, why would it say tisa? Why would it say naso? And why would it say She'u? Why different versions of the word? So I'm going to share with you an insight. It's going to be a little bit of a Hasidic insight, which is really fascinating. I always find Hasidic interpretations very fascinating. And it's based on a Gemara. So the Gemara says, now we know, like when we say Ashrei, that Ashrei follows an acrostic, an alphabetic acrostic, it's called. So we have all the letters of the alphabet are represented in Ashrei. And if you use, let's say, you remember our kids still use them, the siddur with the lines on them, the chinuch siddurim. I had the Shiloh siddur growing up. And in the Shiloh siddur, it had lines, numbers next to every line. And then in some siddurim, it'll have the letter enlarged next to each line. And here we have the Gemara that discusses it. So Amar Rabbi Yochanan, this is a Gemara in Brachos, in the beginning of Brachos. Mipnei ma lo ne'emar nun ba'ashrei. So if you look through the letters of Ashrei, right? So if we look through the davening, we have Malchusecha Malchus Kol Olamim Shalta B'Chol Dar Vadar Somech Hashem L'Chol Hanufalim. So it goes from Mem right to Samech. It's missing a Nun. There's no Nun. Even though every other letter is represented, the Nun is not represented. So the Gemara asks, why is there no Nun in Ashrei? So the Gemara says, "Mipnei sheyesh ba mapalasan shel sonei Yisrael dechsiv nafla lo tosif kum betulas Yisrael." Because it has in it the downfall of the enemies of Israel. Now, there's one thing you have to understand when the Talmud writes. The Talmud always writes what's called lashon naki or lashon sagi nahar. That the word sagi nahar in Aramaic means flooded with light. Flooded with light. But the term sagi nahar in the Gemara means someone who's blind. So why would you call somebody who's blind flooded with light? Because the Gemara speaks in opposite terms. The Gemara tries to speak nicely and doesn't want to say bad things about the Jewish people. So you don't want to say bad things about someone who's suffering, although maybe today it would probably be like a classic insult. But the way the Gemara speaks, when it says, because it has the downfall of the enemies of Israel, it doesn't mean the downfall of the enemies of Israel, because that wouldn't be a reason to leave something out. It has a downfall of Israel itself. So if you look in the translation, because it contains an allusion to the downfall of the enemies of Israel, and they write in their own commentary, a euphemism for Israel itself. As it is written, the virgin of Israel has fallen and she will rise no more. Abandoned in her land, none will raise her up, which begins with the letter Nun. So due to this verse, Ashrei does not include the verse beginning with the letter Nun. In order to ease the harsh meaning of the verse in the West, in Eretz Yisrael, they interpreted it with a slight adjustment. They said, she has fallen, but she shall fall no more. Rise, Betulat Yisrael. Nachman Yitzchak says, even so, David HaMelech went and he provided support through divine inspiration, that although King David did not include a verse beginning with the letter Nun, alluding to Israel's downfall, he foresaw the verse that would be written by Amos through divine inspiration, and the very next verse, which begins with the letter Samech, which is Somech Hashem L'chol HaNoflim, and raises up those who are bowed down. Therefore, through divine inspiration, David offered hope and encouragement. Although Betulat Yisrael may have fallen, the Lord upholds the fallen. Okay, that's a rather boring Gemara, or is it? I don't know. What the Gemara says is they left out the Nun because the Nun would automatically get us to think about the fall of Israel. However, David HaMelech, he added the next pasuk, Somech Hashem L'chol HaNoflim, referring, in other words, the pasuk that God uplifts those who have fallen means, oh, who fell? Oh, right, the ones that we just skipped over, the ones we didn't talk about. But we can deduce from that obviously the Jews have fallen, but then they will rise again. So look at this piece from, now we have something called the Bnei Yissaschar. The Bnei Yissaschar says like this. Al derech haremes, nikra nes. So he's asking a question. When we talk about miracles, okay, has anyone here ever experienced a miracle? Yeah, of course you have. You woke up this morning, right? You didn't murder your whole family in the last 3 months, being in the same Dalet Amos. Okay, that's a miracle. My son, I'm trying to educate him in the right way. So I let him only watch hockey movies. So he watched Miracle, the Disney version. I let him see the first one that was done in 1981, The Miracle on Ice, which was terrible. But the Kirk Russell version, Miracle, about the U.S. hockey team in 1980. So that's a miracle. You know, he keeps asking, is that the miracle team? Is that the miracle team? But the truth is that miracle, the word nes. Now, if I would ask you the Hebrew source of the word nes, is where, what does it mean?
To
Nes.
flee.
Say that again?
To flee.
Right. So that's one interpretation. So how does that relate to miracle then?
It's something intangible. You can't quite grasp it. It's not tangible.
Okay, I like that. That's good. Any other thoughts of where the word nes comes from? There's two other possibilities besides this that I sort of incorporate. So one, we know if anybody here is a doctor, married to a doctor, has a son who just became a doctor, then you know that the staff that they use, the symbol for the medical profession, is the staff with the snake around it. Okay, so that comes straight out of Bamidbar. It was an episode where there was this saraf, this thing that was killing people, and God said to Moshe, "You put up the staff with the snake, and if they look at it, whoever looks at it, they're going to live, etc." So that became the symbol of medical profession. But there, the word for the staff is nes. Put a nes. So maybe and we use the word standard, like, you know, standard bearer, like when they would march out in formation, a standard bearer, a nes is that. So maybe a miracle could be a standard where maybe that's a way that we could appreciate that which we don't normally appreciate in the world. That's one possibility. It could also be related to the word nisayon. A nisayon is a test. Avraham Avinu went through 10 tests. We say 10 nisyonot that Avraham Avinu went to. So, and they say a miracle is a form of a test. A miracle, and we discussed this way back, that if you looked at the Jewish people who experienced Kriyas Yamsuf, the splitting of the sea, and then 3 days later, like, it's as if it never happened because they're complaining about water, like, what happened? Okay? Because a miracle is only as good as what you do with it. If you don't build upon it, if you don't accept the message that you're getting directly to you from a miracle, then you failed that test, so to say. So that's another interpretation. But here, the Bnei Yissaschar uses this Gemara in Brachos to interpret what a test is, meaning what a nes is. So look what he says here. Again, it's in source number Vav. For some reason, when it notes the pages, it writes only the Hebrew letters sometimes the English numbers, whatever. But it says Vav. Okay, right where my cursor is. Al derech haremez nikra nes. Now again, he's saying this is not pshat. This is what you might call cute. It's a hint of something. Why is it called a nes? Ad she'amar chazal v'pnei ma lo nemra nun ba'ashrei v'pnei sheyesh ba ma'palasan shel sonei Yisrael she'nemra naflas. He quotes the Gemara. Why is there no nun in the letter ash in the paragraph of Ashrei? There's no nun because it talks about the downfall of Israel. And the nun, that downfall of Israel, starts with a nun, no fail. Afilu hachi chazar David v'samcha baruch hakodesh she'nemar samach Hashem l'chol hanofilim. He says, even so, David HaMelech saw with divine inspiration that we had to sort of like hint at it. So he added the next verse, Somech Hashem l'chol hanoflim. In other words, God lifts up, but lifts up what? The noflim. So God like reinstates the nuns, as it were. So look at what he says. Im kain lefizeh nun. He said, if you take the nun, but tevat nes. Nes is two words. Nes. Nun and samech. If you take the nun, miramezes al eis hatzar l'sonei Yisrael. This refers to a time when Jewish people go through a difficult period, when they go through exile, when they go through punishment, when they go through all sorts of persecution. And since the nun is next to a samech, that is nes is nun, you're falling, samech, you're getting back up. Right? It's smichas hanafilim legrom Yeshua v'hatzal Yisrael. Al kain nikra hayeshua nes. Therefore, salvation is always called a miracle. Yeshua is always a nes. Why? Because a miracle, by definition, is nun followed by a samech. It is nun falling down followed by getting up of a samech. Very, very, very chassidish. So, if that's the case, maybe when we talk about it in the beginning of our parsha, when it talks about the service of the Levium, the service of the family of the Kohanim and everything that they had to do. For so long, they did their service, and then they knew that they were going to be out of service because the Beis HaMikdash is going to be destroyed. And then we're looking forward to a time when they'll be back in service. And he says that's why here specifically, when it talks about the service of the Levites, not for accounting, it's not only for counting, but this counting is not for census purposes, but rather it's for service purposes. That's why it says naso. Now, what you have to be cute here is that you realize that even though it's nun with a sin and a samach are interchangeable. But you could say naso. I know Dina's making a face. I know that. I get it. You have to have a little faith when it comes to Hasidic words. But naso is right here. In other words, it could have said ki tisa. It could have said the other forms that we had. Su'u as B'nai Yisrael. Su'u as Levium. But when it comes to Levium Naso, it's saying Naso, there's going to be a downfall followed by an uplifting. It's going to be a nes, nun samech, or in this case, nun sin. It's cute. I thought I would share it with you, but take it or leave it, whatever. Let's look at the next thing. The next thing that we have in our parsha is my favorite part of the parsha. It's one of my favorite mitzvahs to always expound on and to learn and to study, and that is the mitzvah of birchas kohanim, the mitzvah of duchening. And I have to say that of all the things that we missed on Yontif, now that's 3 Yontifs that we missed because it's the first days of Pesach, second days of Pesach, and now Shavuos. One of the things that I missed the most was duchening. The blessing of the Kohanim. Now, every shul has their own customs and this and that. I for years and years, I took my kids under the talis, and then slowly, there was attrition because when they became bat mitzvah, they couldn't go under my talis anymore. So I'm down to 1 under bat mitzvah, and then I have my little guy who decides to, have all sorts of fun. But he now since has adopted the tune of the Kohanim, and he runs around the house singing the tune. And also because God has this funny sense of humor thing where he decided, okay, I'm going to have the Kohanim sing with you. And there's about 3 Kohanim in the entire world who can sing. A lot of them are like, they should be schleppers. Instead, God made them singers. And, it's just one of the things. So for years and years, I have always sung. I stand in the front and I sing with Kohanim and I guide them and I lead them. Because we want to make it a beautiful experience. And I miss that. I really miss that. And you feel, just think about it. Where is it that we have a commandment to bless someone else. And through the hands of the Kohanim, serving as conduits of the divine presence, they extend and exude blessing to Klal Yisrael. Now, I'll just share, before I get into to what I want to discuss here, I'll share with you the famous insight of Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky. Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky once asked the question, why is it that what happens as soon as the Kohanim finish duchening, okay, what happens? They come off the bima and everybody rushes up to them and gives them yasher koach. Everybody shakes their hand, okay? No, why? Okay, somebody gives you a blessing, it's a nice thing. But why do we give, like, you know what? When they're supposed to do it, as we'll see right here in the pasuk. They're commanded to do so. So why is it that we give them yasher koach? You know what? I was commanded to eat a matzah. When I finish eating my matzah, nobody comes running up to me and gives me yasher koach. Instead, they're just laughing at me. They're laughing at me because I'm so crazy and I have to eat it between 2 and 9 minutes and I don't talk and I'm leaning and it's all over me and there's crumbs all over the place and they're laughing, ha ha, isn't that funny? Okay, that's how they treat the mitzvah. That only gives yasher koach. Why do we give the Kohanim a yasher koach? So Rabbi Yaakov says so beautifully that when the Kohanim make their bracha, they say, Asher kidshonu b'kedushaso shel Aharon. Yes, we were sanctified with the sanctity of Aharon. B'tzivanu levareches amo Yisrael. And we were commanded to bless the people of Israel. Yes, we're doing what we commanded. However, there's one more word in the bracha, one more word which gives us the yasher koach. They end the bracha with the word bi'ahava. Is that we were commanded to bless the Jewish people bi'ahava, with love. We give them a yasher koach because they blessed us not only because they had to, but they did so out of love. And that's what we're sort of giving back to them, giving back to the Kohanim. We're thanking them for the love that they have exhibited towards us. Which is why in the halacha, and there's a lot of halachas around Birchas Kohanim, the halacha states that if the Kohen has an enemy in the crowd, he's not allowed to duchen. He's not allowed to duchen. Now, I know it's very hard to imagine that one Jew would have, disdain for another Jew. And it really just stretch your imagination, try to make it work. But so that's what happens. So therefore, you have to love them. So look at the mitzvah. It's a beautiful mitzvah. Vaydaber Hashem Moshe lemor. Daber el Aharon vel banav lemor. Kos tvarchu es bnei Yisrael amor lahem. Speak to Aaron and to his sons. Of course, he has 2 sons. His 2 older sons had died already. Or it's unclear when this pasuk is stated, but let's assume they're not here. So shall you bless the children of Israel. Amor lahem, speak to them. Yivrechacha Hashem v'yishmerecha, Ye'er Hashem panei v'lecha v'yichuneka, Yisa Hashem panav v'lecha v'yasein lecha shalom. The bracha of the 3, the 5, and the 7 words. Beautiful words. We use the same formula when we bless our children every Shabbos. And this is what the Kohanim do. And they say Hashem's name. And the halacha says they're supposed to turn a certain way. And they have to be situated a certain way. And they have to have certain intentions of what they're thinking while they're saying these words, etc., etc. And by the way, if you know Kohanim Huduchen, they take it very, very, very seriously. Very, very seriously. I remember growing up in my shul in New Rochelle, in congregation Anshe Shalom, and we sat, right behind us was the Cohen family, and every time it came to duchen, they stepped out. They wouldn't duchen. And they wouldn't duchen because they drove to shul on Shabbos, on Yontif. And he felt that it wasn't appropriate that he should be giving any sort of blessing if he rode to shul on Shabbos. Which is a certain level of integrity and humility. Now, again, not everybody would have the same position on that, but I just, that's something how people take that responsibility very, very seriously. And I know, especially the Kohanim who missed duchening these last 3 times or multiple times are it's hard for them. Now, of course, if you go to Israel and you daven in a minyan in Israel, most minyan in Israel, they do it every single day. And Kohanim, to them, but at that point, it's like, it's like, you get up there, it's like, tick-chock. It's like Yisker in Israel. If anybody ever had to do Yisker in Israel is like, whatever. Like, oh, I guess they're doing that. Okay, we're done. It's not a production. But since we do it so rarely here, and therefore it's very, very special. It's funny, in Levium in Israel especially, they will not admit that they're Levium because they don't want to get up and start washing someone else's hands every single time in davening. So they their towels over the head, to pretend like they don't see. Okay. So here we have the commandment to bless the children of Israel. And the pasuk ends, this exchange ends, V'samu es shemi al b'nei Yisrael, va'ani avarachem. and you shall, here they use the translation to link, but we'd say v'samu is to place. Lasim, lasum, is to place my name on the children of Israel, and I will bless them. So it's like through you, God, who's really blessing the Jewish people? It's God. How is God blessing them? Through the conduit of the Kohanim. I've probably given you my shtick on this before, but I'll repeat it since I don't know. But the way that Birchas Kohanim have always envisioned what it means is because they're supposed to hold. I can't do it, but they're supposed to hold their hands a certain way, which we're not supposed to look at. Come on, we all looked when we were kids. We all looked, and and it's supposed to form what's called sort of like 5 windows, 5 openings, and through that, the divine presence will shine through and bless the people. That's why people who are standing behind the Kohanim, if a shul is configured in such a way where there are seats on the side behind the bima area, then we ask people to move forward because they're not going to be included in the blessing of the Kohanim. You have to actually be in front. You have to be sort of within range, and it doesn't go behind you like this, okay? So I've always said, if you remember the great classic film, Raiders of the Lost Ark. So in Raiders of the Lost Ark, he finally finds his way into the map room. And he has the badge, he has that medallion. The medallion is the word he used. The medallion, remember the guy burned on his hand in Tibet, or wherever that was? He has the medallion, he affixes it on the nace, on the staff. And when the sun gets just to a certain point through the crystal, it hits the crystal and then shines through to the map room and tells you exactly where. That to me is Birchas Kohanim. That's exactly what it is. It's like the hands are the medallion and the Shekhinah shines through and blasts everybody with only good blessing. That's always been my, okay, so maybe I need therapy, but that, I need therapy for a lot of other reasons. That's a whole other conversation for another time. So let's look at a bit of a compare and a contrast here when it comes to Birchas Kohanim. Here, when we talk about giving the bracha, we say v'samu es shemi, and you shall place. Or we say, when we give the bracha, Yisimecha Elokim or Yisimech Elokim, heading for a boy or a girl. Yet, v'yasein lecha shalom. I will, here it says grant you peace, but I will, the noun, the transitive verb that's used there, not noun, the transitive verb that's used there, the active verb is v'yasein, lasum, to place. V'samu v'yasein. Yet, earlier in the Tochacha, we have a pasuk here, it says, V'nasati shalom ba'aretz. When it comes to here giving peace in the land, it uses not the word sima, but it uses netina, latate, and I will grant you peace. So why sometimes would the Torah use the word lasum shalom, v'yasem lecha shalom, and why sometimes would it use the term netinat shalom? Now we know, let's say in modern Hebrew, when you want to say give peace to someone or say hello, we say netinat, latet shalom, is to give greetings or something like that. We don't use the word lasum. So here we have, again, this is also a bit of a Hasidic interpretation, which comes from the Shebina Rav. The Shebina Rav, based on a very obscure Gemara, which we're going to see, which is something very interesting. So here the Gemara Menachos. Amar Rab Yitzchak Bar Yosef, Amar Rab Yochanan, Nasan Mashahu Sheman Al Gabe Kazayis Mincha Pesal. My timer, lo yasim sima kol dehu aleha, ad ika shiura. So the Gemara here, look at this. The Gemara discusses the placement of oil upon the meal offering of a sinner or the meal offering of jealousy brought by a sota. Okay, whatever. We have certain meal offerings that are brought. So Rabbi Yitzchak Bar Yosef says, according to Rabbi Yochanan, if you placed any amount of oil, now there it is, any amount of oil, so it's nasan mashahu shemen. If you used any amount of oil on top of an olive bulk of a meal offering of a sinner, you have disqualified the meal offering. The Gemara says, what's the reason for this halacha? Because the verse says, he shall place no oil. Lo yasim sima, you cannot place, means any act of placing. Indicates that an act of placing that has no minimum amount, and therefore one is liable for any amount of oil. When the verse says, upon it, when the verse says, alav, on it, this teaches that a meal offering is unique and disqualified by the oil only if it has the requisite measure of an oil bulk. And Rabbi Yitzchak Bar Yosef says, according to Rabbi Yochanan, if you placed an olive bulk of all frankincense on top of any amount of a meal offering, he has thereby disqualified the meal offering. Why? because it is written, neither shall he give, there the word notain, any frankincense upon it, which indicates that frankincense disqualifies the meal offering only if there's at least the amount that constitutes giving, which is an olive bulb. So what we learn from this Gemara, again, forget about the aspect of the carbon, but what we learn is that sima, placing, is a minimal amount. However, notain, to give, has to have a certain amount, which he said is the amount of an oil. So he said, which is, in other words, it's a greater measure. So the minimal amount of placing something is sima, lasun, and more of a substantial amount is latate, or notain. So the Tribuna Rav asked a question, and he says, why is it that when it came to giving peace in the world, if it came to giving peace in the world, God said, v'nosati shalom ba'aretz, a significant amount of giving. However, when it comes to giving shalom, it says v'yasem l'cha shalom, it's minimal. Don't you think? I mean, isn't that not something that we are striving for? Look, if you turn on any news outlet right now, all we hear is people talking about we need peace, we need peace, we need, you know, all types of peace, we need calm, this and that. But we don't need just a little bit, we need a lot of it. We really need, we need heavy doses of it. So why would the Torah use a term that denotes a minimalist amount as opposed to something that is a more substantial amount? And here the Tribuna Ravs, he says, based on this pasuk in Vayikra, V'imlo tasig yado l'shtei surim, this is source number 10. O l'shnei b'nei yada, v'hevi es karbano asher chata, asir sefa sol chatas, lo yasim aleha shemen, v'lo yitain aleha levana ki chatasi. And if he does not have enough resources, a certain offering required, they had to bring certain types of birds. If he doesn't have enough to buy the birds or the pigeons, he shall bring as his offering that which is guilty, 1/10 of an ephah of choice flour for a sin offering. He shall not add oil to it or lay frankincense on it. It's a sin offering. Again, shemen is lasum. When it comes to oil, it's lasum. However, levona, frankincense, is a more substantial amount. Why is that? And he says because oil, and you know this, okay? You know, we deal with a lot of stains and this and that, okay? Some things that drip on you, let's say on your clothing, or let's say you have leather. Let's say you're wearing a suede something, okay? If a powdery substance drips on your suede substance, you can deal with that. You can live with that. Why? Because you know what? It'll brush off. It takes a lot of powdery substance, a lot of a grainy substance to really embed itself into the material. Oil? You get one drop of oil on suede. You ever have suede shoes that you got oil on them? Or a suede coat or a jacket or something? Oil, the smallest amount. That's it. You're not getting, and by the way, you'll never not be able to see that stain. And there are people I know that might be me, that might never wear a garment again if you know there's a certain stain on it, right? Or you just can't, I'll tell you also a trade secret that, you know, if I get a stain on my white shirt during like Shabbos lunch or something, like I'm safe. If it's like the area where the tie is, then I'm good. Like, you know, I can cover it. My wife hates that, but I'm, you know, whatever. But if the tie covers it, it's all good. But if you get a stain, a little bit of oil on a certain surface, that's all you need for it to seep through. So the Shabina Rav, he says, that's exactly the same idea when it comes to peace in the world versus shalom. When it comes to peace in the world, when a sakti shalom, there it's talking about peace amongst the nations. There we have to give a substantial amount to make sure that it takes, to make sure that it stays. The peace is so elusive. Peace is something that is really not consistent, not stable. And we've seen that for years and years, just looking at the state of Israel, or just looking at the fragility of our own society right now. That peace is so fragile that in an instant, everything can be shattered. And that's why on Sukkot, when we talk about a sukkah, we talk about the Yis HaMikdash, we say, Harachaman huyakim lanu asukas David hanofelas. And we say, Haporei sukkah shalom aleinu. We talk about a sukkah, we talk about a sukkah of peace. Because, and one of the interpretations, why do we talk about a sukkah relating to peace? Because just like peace can fall apart at any second, so too can your sukkah fall apart at any second, no matter how much effort you put into it. But that's external peace. That's peace between nations, peace between people. And we even know, if you've ever been involved, if you've had, and it always happens, but let's say you have some sort of big family fight going on, and you make up. Even when you make up, it's just not the same. It never goes back to how it was. It's always looming. It's always there lingering. And not only that, it can very easily just fall apart all over again. That's external peace. However, in Birchas Kohanim, we look back up. Birchas Kohanim, we're not talking about peace among others. We say, V'yasem Yisah Hashem panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. God will turn his countenance upon you. God will turn his face to you, almost to say. And then he'll give you peace. That type of peace, that's inner peace. That's peace with who you are. That's peace with what you are. And if you have that, you only need a little bit of God's countenance that seeps in like the oil that stains the suede. A little bit, and it's indelible, and it can never go away. And I'm sure that there are times in your life when you just feel like, you feel good. Almost sometimes, as of course of Jews, when we feel good, we feel guilty. Like, okay, we're waiting for the other shoe to drop. When is this all going to fall apart? But when you have inner peace, knowing, I did what I could. I did the best, and a lot of people feel this, especially, let's say, when it comes to mourning and losing a loved one. And very often, and people could say to themselves, I took great care of my mother. I took great care of my father. I was a good child, and I really helped give them quality of life. And that's a sense of inner peace, and not being that I should have, I would have, I could have. If you have that inner peace, you don't need a heavy dose of it. You just need a little bit, and that's indelible, and it stays forever. And that's why the blessing is, V'samu Hashemi al b'nei Yisrael v'anei avarachem. When are we going to be blessed? When are the Jewish people truly going to be blessed? When God places his name. But look at the word that's used. V'samu et shemi. When God places, God doesn't need to bombard us with it. He doesn't need to hit us over the head with it. He doesn't need to give us layers and layers of it. I only need sima kol dehu, the Gemara says. Just a little bit, just enough, and then we will have levels of blessing. So look, you know what? We're getting back to normal. Thank God. Whatever the new normal is. Let's hope that we'll have also some inner peace. And again, I keep saying this, but I can't say it enough, is that I keep taking so many of the good things that have happened the last 3 months. The time we've spent together with family, the closets that were cleaned, the ones that, the books that were read, the sort of not being crazed by life and sort of hitting that reset button. And that to me was a bracha. And that's God also, the Samu Eshemi al B'nai Yisrael. People recognizing how important the community is to them, how important the shul is to them, how important davening is, learning, etc. And again, and I'm thankful for this group because, we were growing strong the whole time. And we were able to still learn as we do. So again, I'll send word out. I really hope that next week, if people are up for it, again, if people are not comfortable, I fully understand. We'll figure out, we'll Zoom as well. But I would love to be able to sit outside in person. We're going to have a setup under a tent, space, chairs, etc. And then, because to me, teaching in person is so much better than this. It's very hard not to do it. So again, I hope that everybody is well, and we should just sort of, let me just take off the screen here, the sharing.
Rabbi, can I say one thing?
Yes.
It's Gail. I just want to say one of the highlights for me has been your daily videos and an opportunity to hear thoughts on Torah. So
Thank
it's really
you.
been a highlight. Thank you for doing that.
I appreciate it because it's been viewed, as I said, been viewed by tens and tens of people.
But whoever's listening to it is getting a lot out of it. I play
appreciate
it during dinner with my family, and there would never be access otherwise. So it does matter, and we do care. So thank you.
Thank you so much for saying that. I really appreciate it. It's a lot of work, and when I think about it at night, the idea is basically that watch it, don't watch it. It's there, and it's a way that we can feel connected. And you know what? We're trying to find new normals of ways that we can connect and feel connected. So and by the way, I see that as continuing going forward. It's not just a COVID thing. So I hope to be able to continue doing that. Certainly, as long as we have sponsors, why not? But it was that was just an added bonus that we were able to make help raise funds for the shul, so which was really great. So everybody have a wonderful day. Again, I'll be in touch, and we'll continue, God willing, in person.
Rabbi,
Yes.
hi. I sent you that note in the middle, and I didn't mean to press. I meant to just type, but not press send until the end. Can you add me
Absolutely.
to your emails?
Are you on the shul list?
I am a member of Suburban Torah.
Okay, so even so, I'm going to let you put on the shul list. So I'm going to add you to the list.
Thank you very much. That
We
way I
charge
get
double for Suburban Torah members. You know that.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Everybody wish Vivian a good day.
Thank you.
Okay.
Let's say that again.
We have to say